Hi there, my name is Lawrence Mitchell and I'm founder of Life Without Labels, and I'm sitting here having breakfast with Cindy and Susie, who teach children who have moderate to difficulties in their education and behaviour. And what I want to ask them is, what is your interpretation of life without labels, the actual idea of life without labels?
Life without labels would be good in that labels are limiting to both the individual but to the parents. They're very hindering to parents in expectations and in outcomes. I think the label can take away hope and create helplessness in both the parent and then in the child.
Yes.
The label can be comforting on the other side, in that if a parent is struggling with their child has a difficulty and no one can see it, it may at first feel very comforting that the label is there, that, oh, I'm not crazy as a parent.
Absolutely. I can see that.
The parent can use that as a way of saying, it can create a conversation as long as the label is often limiting. The label can be a starting point, and then we can get rid of it.
Okay. Now, Susie's asked not to be filmed, so I'm not going to direct the camera at her, but what is your own interpretation of life without labels?
Well, as labels
I think you slipped in.
With a child who has disabilities and who teaches children with disabilities, the label, getting rid of labels just helps you just deal with the child as a person, because we're all human, and dealing with that first and where they are, and I think that's very helpful. At the same time, I have to agree with Cindy. Sometimes when the label does help, when as a parent it's devastating, the grief to deal with a child with a disability, you have to go through a grieving process, because you have to have your expectations be kind of real. And sometimes a label, when you say, okay, this is their IQ number. I mean, it hurts, but at the same time, it's like, okay, that's where we're going to start. So there is no silver bullet, because my child is a child and I love her.
I agree with that. I think this whole idea of expectation, like what, literally find an envelope, put those expectations away to one side,
right.
And then
those expectations can be debilitating labels when they're way too high.
Yes.
And so I think what I see out of it's a good way for me to deal with starting just looking at the person as a human being and being
absolutely
what's beautiful that they are where they are.
Absolutely. Don't you find that the trouble, a labeling will say that you're Susie, you're Cindy, but it doesn't actually, it's just a name. It doesn't describe the content of that person, that child, whoever they are. Now, you heard Anne, who's a retired school teacher, sitting on the joint temperature, is listening to what I was talking about and happened to mention about my own innovations. So what do you think about what I've been talking to you about?
Well, I think the thing that stuck in key again is I think it's really valuable to help parents deal with, like we said, the shame. Sometimes there is a certain guilt and a shame that goes along with the student or a child when it's your own, that it's not like everybody else, and you're going, how do I do this? Why was it my fault? What did I do wrong? And when you get rid of the labels with that, again, I just think that's really nice, because it actually is a structure to help the parents, because in teaching we really don't have anything to help parents as much. It's all focused on, these are the outcomes for the kids. We're going to get you to count, we're going to get you to do this, but we don't have a mechanism to deal with the grief and the issues that it's very difficult for parents to deal with kids who have disabilities.
Okay. Cindy, did you have anything to add to that?
Well, with the parents, I would say what's really, the parents are key in that, as a teacher, we'll have a child for a limited amount of time, 6 hours a day, in a non-realistic environment. The parents are actually having them within the real world. And so
easier to structure up our environment than the home environment.
The home environment is real. And so the idea of the parents being able to enter and see the labels that have constrained them, and labels that have inhibited them and made their life hard, and then that can roll over, that they can see they're unconsciously labeling their child. And so for them to examine that there are all these little labels that we don't even know we have, so to actually to bring them out and to say, wow, that label fits me and I didn't know it, and it's been a weight.
Yes.
And if we can cut that weight off, then it allows more freedom within a parent, and then that also allows more space for a child. Because the more space a parent has, the
But
more
I
space
think
the
it's
child
also
has.
about helping them or inviting them to change their relationship with the label.
But they're changing their relationship to themselves, and that makes it easier to change the relationship to the child, I think.
Yes. Well, they have to try and nurture themselves to change their own communication. Accepting is, and just removing blockages which are preventing them.
Right. Because what's very big, I would say, in the States, I mean, I can say, is measuring up. You have to measure up.
Everywhere.
And there are so many things to measure up that we're not, I'm always astounded by, oh my gosh, I was trying to measure up to something I wasn't even aware of. And once I identify it, then I can choose.
But then it really boils back down to shame, doesn't it?
Yeah.
That you're ashamed to be maybe the odd one out in the streets, or...
And so the label, if we can get rid of the labels and just really see people, all people as individuals.
Yes.
As they were all quirky and we're all normal and abnormal and unique and beautiful.
Yeah,
and then start from there.
There's a beauty in that disability. And it helps focus on that. Oh, and I was going to say something about, the shame, the thing that's very strange with the labels, how it can connect as a parent is like, often as a parent, the stuff that was painful for you growing up, you tend to, with your children, want to protect them from that. And they need to be different, and you need to separate your own hurt from their hurt. And we want to protect them. And I
understand that.
But
it does. Anyway, thank you very much,
all right.
Susie and Cindy.
Thank you.
All right, thank you.